Good morning, everybody. Let me grab the trade plan from yesterday. Let's see here. All right, so do we have to change this? Let me see. I don't think so. I think we're still good. So yesterday we talked about holding above or below 6,600. I use that level because that is kind of the POC node that we're stuck below, right? So if we hold above that POC node, it starts to value retrace possibly into the single print zones or the value retrace going back to like 728. So staying above that POC should retrace back into single prints. Staying below it, we go back to prior value, which is around September and August. We're going back pretty far. We've already tested a couple of those levels. Our prior targets, yeah, they've already been hit, I believe. One of them has. I think we'll still leave that as the prior target, the lower target, I mean, because it has bounced off of that level, and it's kind of the overnight low anyway. So we'll keep looking for 50 and 500. There's a couple of value levels in between 50 and 500, but it's all about the same zone. Now, today is a kind of a D-shaped profile, but I would treat it like a bearish trend profile because of yesterday. Yesterday was so strong that the bears are basically in full control. One exception is you could treat it like a micro pullback. If today just keeps ranging and it doesn't see that continuation of yesterday. Same story on NASDAQ. You could see it as a micro pullback because you are kind of chopping out on the low of day of yesterday. But the overall bias, the overall trend is still pretty damn bearish, right? The sellers are still in full control unless we see some type of very strong buy pressure trying to fill in the single prints of yesterday. We did leave open two very large single print zones going back to like 887, 143. So pretty much retracing the entire day of yesterday, which is not very likely, but if we do see a lot of buy pressure, we could use that as some targets. Now, the trade plan on NASDAQ is holding above or below the value low, which is 415. Holding above it, we're looking for the single prints, like I just said. Holding below it, we are looking for prior value levels into 24,000 and 883. Those targets did get hit on the pre-market, but they would be the same targets anyway because of the overnight low. Keep an eye on VWAP here, 71 and 145. Very similar open to, I think it was yesterday, where we had that bunch of overlapping 30-minute candles. We're kind of stuck inside that range. No real decision just yet. Kind of a 5-minute bulldog here. Needs to basically stay above 70, which is VWAP. So staying above VWAP would continue that bulldog. Losing VWAP goes back into rotation. Pretty choppy open here. Keep an eye on VWAP. Looks like it keeps getting pulled down to VWAP, but it's front running it each time. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Leo. It looks like YouTube did that thing again. See if I can change that. Looks like YouTube did their thing again where they mess with the usernames. Good morning, Leo, Banana, Marcel, Titus, Future, Jay, Vanquish, Lubomir, Patriot, Morris, XP. Good morning, Mauser, Greg, Larry, Gennaro, Jose, Kerry. Good morning, Ike. Mr. B, Boat, Roman. Good morning, Ordinary. Good morning, Ken. Lucio, Sire. Good morning, Pa, Criso, Roma, Igor, Crypto. Keep an eye on VWAP here. Looks like it's being pulled back again. Come on, Crypto, Tamer, eBay, Orion. Come on, Ranger Power. Good morning, Lee, Estevan, Sick. Good morning, Life. Good morning, Adam, Denise. Appreciate you guys being here. Happy Friday, guys. Very sloppy bar coding open here. Kind of going back and forth. Bitcoin dropped to what, 80,000? Yeah, almost. The Bitcoin is starting to hit those levels that I talked about, like the dollar cost averaging levels. So keep an eye on 75,000 is the 40% drop. And then down to like the 60% drop would be like 50,000. And then 80%, which you're probably not going to get, is 25,000. I don't think we're going to get that. but that's usually the bear cycle. The bear cycle is anywhere from 40 to 80. It used to be 60 to 80. Now it's probably more like 40 to 60. Because getting an 80% drop when it's like very mainstream now is probably not going to happen. So if I had to guess, the buy zone for this bear cycle would be anywhere from 75 down to maybe 50K. I could see maybe 40,000 at the lowest. This is the monthly trail. We're testing the monthly trail on Bitcoin for the first time since June of 2023. All right, here's VWAP. Let's see how it retests with Delta. Let's see if it gets that buyer Delta it needs. Volatility is still insanely high. Are we trading about a, what, 30-point range? 25? So far, bouncing off VWAP beautifully. Bouncing damn near to the point on NASDAQ. That's how crazy the volatility is. We've bounced off VWAP. It's already up like 15 points. That's kind of insane. My templates are in Discord. I think they have one of my older templates in the Addis official Discord as well. And I also show my settings in the video that will hopefully be coming out today for our final video on the Becoming an Apex Trader series. Yes, I believe we do have some data coming out in about 1 minute here. Hey, Ward, I appreciate you joining the membership on YouTube. Appreciate you supporting the channel, man. Should say continuing your membership. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. Good morning, Faraj. The order flow video, I think when I made it, it was like an hour and a half. So after cuts and edits and stuff, it will probably be a little bit less than that. The scale right now is set to 1 point because the volatility is so high. I usually like to watch it. Sorry, it's set to 2 ticks. It should be set to 1 point, to be honest. I usually like to watch it like this, where it's every tick. But the volatility is just way too high right now. This should actually be a point. The bubbles are just block trades. I think they're set to like 300 right now. Losing VWAP, keep an eye on those prior value levels. So we have today's value low. Then we have prior value down around 24,800, somewhere around there. On ES, we have around 50, 35, and 17. 50, 35, and 17. Basically all the way down to 6,500. The sale on what? The sale on my website? Do you mean my sale? My sale will probably go until like early December. And we'll probably do like another small sale around Christmas, but it probably won't be as large. If you're talking about Apex, I believe the Apex sale goes until next Monday. This coming up Monday, I believe. Oh, by the way, 945 data is 51.9 over 52. 55 over 54.6, so pretty much as expected, nothing crazy. You want a blood? Want a Scott? Still not finding a ton of bearish delta below VWAP. Keeps trying to stay below VWAP, but it keeps bouncing. You still kind of look like a 5-minute bulldog. You can see you have the double bottom here. Pops up, puts in a little bull flag. So far, very indicative of a micro pullback. The open and POC are towards the middle of the day. Very D-shaped, falling off in value towards the high and towards the low. Okay, this is about where this rotation should come to an end. If they are still in a D-shaped balance, it should start failing around 90 to 600. If this 5-minute bulldog is taking over, then it's going to look for a small breakout here. Looks like it is more of a D shape, not a bulldog, failing the value high here back into rotation. Looking for that value low around 74. Very normal for a micro pullback. We do have a little bit of data at 10 o'clock, so watch out for that in the next minute or so. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, Trevor. You are kind of failing to rotate a little bit here. It should have went down a little bit lower. You're rotating the cash profile, but the full session is a bit lower. Down to 68. Okay, now it looks like it's going to finish that rotation. Tape is turning pretty red here. A lot of sellers around 70, 66. There was some data at 10 o'clock, which looks like it is coming out a little bit bearish. The data is actually better than expected, but it's being taken bearishly. Good morning, Olive. Just rotating right now, guys. Not a whole lot to talk about. As long as we stay above these, the value low of like the full session, you're rotating back to the value high. Right now, you could say there's a little bit of a bearish bias. You did not finish that last rotation back into the high. So the sellers are getting a little bit bottom heavy here, a little strong on the downside. You can see this cluster of delta building up on the low of that candle. So far, this cluster down here is being absorbed. There is a ton of delta on this level at 65, 3,200 contracts. Still not going anywhere. That was mostly a wall. You can see the wall in the delta chart. Yeah, it looks like pretty much about the entire level, almost 3,000 of it was just one wall. Riso, that's not true at all, man. You're being misled by basement dwellers on Reddit. The only other prop firm that I've ever used is Top Step. But no, it is not true that Apex often does not pay out. They wouldn't be quite possibly one of the largest in the entire industry if they didn't pay out. You guys have to understand what the internet is, right? The internet is almost always a loud minority. You have people making excuses and crying about Apex is the bad guy because they broke the rules or they're not very good at trading or whatever, right? It comes back to the same thing that I preach on stream on damn near a daily basis. You guys have to have accountability for yourself. And if you can't do that, then you're not going to make it in trading, unfortunately. Man, I hate when YouTube does this with your names, because I recognize a lot of you guys, but it's messing up your usernames. Hopefully it goes back to what it was. Keep an eye on this absorption here. If they can stay below this, they're looking pretty bearish. Possibly back down to like 40, maybe 35. It's goofy with the names. Yeah, it's annoying. It like switches to people's like full-on usernames sometimes. Like they're like login names. FTMO is a good way of losing money. They've been around for a long time. I've never used them, so I can't really recommend them. But they have been around for many years, so I don't think they're a scam or anything like that. Yeah, I'm not just defending Apex. This goes for like every single prop firm, guys. You guys have to just get used to the fact, and this is outside of trading as well. Like I said, the internet is just a loud minority, the vast majority of the time, on almost every single topic. Another thing about the internet, and this is going to sound a little bit insulting, so I'll try not to go too far. But another thing about the internet is I think, and this goes for me as well, when you look at me or when you look at other influencers or other channels or just anybody in general making these like big statements, everybody assumes that everybody else on the internet is like genius level IQ. They're very, very smart. They're very, very experienced in their field. They're lawyers and doctors and rocket scientists. Like every time somebody reads a statement from somebody online, they just take them at their word and assume they have like 30 years of experience in whatever the hell they're talking about. When the vast majority of the time, these people have no idea what they are talking about. Stop assuming that everybody on the internet, when they're making statements, have extremely high IQ or they're very educated or whatever, right? Most of the time, it's not the case. And like I said, that goes for me as well. You shouldn't just take me at my word. It's gotten really bad with like the YouTube shorts and the reels and all the short form content. And you see all these people making these videos and people in the comments and they act like they just, like I said, they've got 30 years of experience. I don't know. I'm not going to keep ranting about it, but it's getting really bad. You guys know what I mean. It's really bad in the trading space with all the scammers and the fake experts and the people crying about prop firms not paying out and stuff. Like it's all the same shit. Just a couple of bad apples. Is a wall support or resistance? They can be both. It's the same with a block trade. You don't really know. You have to figure it out by seeing how it reacts to it. Like this one, I would say is support right now, but we're kind of breaking it. You know what I mean? Like it's being absorbed, so it's kind of support. But if we keep breaking it, then obviously it's not. Yeah, YouTube does this weird thing every now and then where it like switches back to people's normal usernames. It's really stupid. Hopefully it goes back to normal. I don't think anybody wants the username to look like that. Keep an eye on 50, 35, and 17 prior value levels. We've already taken out 2 of them on the pre-market. But we didn't really get a real test. There wasn't a whole lot of value down there. The liquidity is like non-existent, which is making our volatility extremely high. So you had a couple of block trades down here. So block trades under the wall, protecting the wall. So you have a little bit of support around that value low, which is pretty common, obviously. You have a D shape. They want to be a buyer around the value low. Okay, this is finishing the upper rotation, so same thing. This is where the sellers should come in. If they do not, you are breaking balance. Today is mostly a micro pullback of a trend day, right? So we had a very bearish trend day yesterday. And a micro pullback is basically just when you have that D-shaped balance building up a node on the low of a trend day or the high of a trend day, right? So we're just building up this POC node, not really deciding if we're continuing just yet. Now we had some absolutely massive, some of the largest single print zones we've seen in a very long time form yesterday. We have single prints going up to 707 and all the way up to 759. So if the micro pullback does end up being bullish, where we hold above this value, the targets are extremely obvious. You're just targeting the single prints being filled in. Now, I don't believe we had, funny enough, we did not have too large of an afternoon break because a lot of the breakdown was in the morning. So we had a little bit of an afternoon break. It repaired it, another little break, tried to repair it, and then another little break. So we have a small break going up to like 628. If it continues to the upside, keep an eye on that being repaired. But yeah, for how large of a sell-off we had, most of it was in the morning, so it's not a very big breakdown in the afternoon. Oh yeah, let's show that actually, because the ATR is ridiculously high. Our ATR on the 5-minute is currently 21 points. It's moved our average up to 17. If we go back to when it was low, or lower, I guess I would say, kind of back a couple of weeks, the average was about 4 points, and it was trading around 6 to 7 points. Even when it spiked, it was only around 9 to 10 points. But most of the time, when we're in like a quote-unquote standard market, the average would be around like 4 to 6 points. Our average is 17. Our current volatility is 21, 22. It's kind of insane. If you guys are used to trading a certain size, that would not be the same as trading that size in this market, right? You probably want to cut your size at least in half, maybe even more. Sitting on your hands today, volatility is too high. Yeah, volatility is really high. So back into a lower rotation here. If it stays below this value low, then you're trying to break balance to the downside. Oh, you could literally trade like 1 micro right now and make plenty of money. Yeah, even on like a 50K account, 1 micro right now is pretty large. And like that's like the lowest you can trade, right? So you have to be very careful. It's large in terms of like P&L compared to the account balance. Neither side has enough power to break out of this balance. They keep failing to break out on the high. They keep failing to break out on the low. You still have that bearish bias. You can see we're still pushing the lows down. But the buyers are doing a good job not allowing them to just absolutely nuke here. Looks like this bearish bias is being pushed a little bit harder here. They're staying below that initial cluster that we were absorbing. You had a wall there, you had a bunch of block trades there, putting in a lot more bearish delta and able to hold it down. Here's that 35 to 45 zone that we were talking about earlier. Starting to lean into a bearish bias here, trying to break out a balance to the downside. Starting to one time frame bearishly on the 30-minute. Lows are being taken out, highs are being protected. Bunch of block trades coming in here. Keep an eye on this 30-minute close. Obviously, it's very early now, but might create single prints going to 53. Well, it's actually the opposite, Mauser. The December rate cut probability has gone up quite a bit. I think it's like doubled in the last like week or so. The rate cut probability in December has gone from 44% a week ago to 73%. There is a bull div here in Delta. Delta making a higher low when price is making a lower low. Trying to go back to the repair the 30-minute candle, which it is doing now. And also back into balance, which needs to be above like 60, 62. Could be a bear flag and a VWAP, so keep an eye on the reaction of VWAP here. 570 and 138. All right, here's VWAP. If it wants to be a bear flag and a VWAP, we need to see a lot more bearish delta reacting to this VWAP. You're not seeing a massive reaction from the bearish delta, but you are seeing the bullish delta getting absorbed into VWAP. The buyers are kind of getting stuck here. Hey, JC, have a good weekend. Olive, I show my settings in the new video that is hopefully coming out today. We're trying to get the final edits done. We're hoping it will be done by probably around the close today, maybe a little bit after. I show them at the end of the video. If you guys are in Discord, I believe my most recent upload of my template is up to date. You're not seeing any bearish delta on VWAP still, just absorption. And like we talk about with bear flags into VWAP, you want them to be one smooth motion back to that prior low. So once you start failing VWAP, you want this to be one move. If it starts putting in that higher low, it kind of kills the trade, kills the move. So this higher low here is killing this bear flag. I didn't use Bookmap for very long, so I can't really compare and contrast them for you. I used it back in the day for a little bit, but I'm not really a fan of that whole style of trading. The like level 2 heat map liquidity. I don't really do a whole lot of that, so that platform is not really for me. If I want to get into that again, Addis has that available, so it's just like a bonus on top of what I already do. I don't like changing my ticks. That's why I keep them the way I do. I like keeping the market profile the same every single day. That's why I don't use auto. If you're worried about the volatility, then you should use auto. But that is specifically why I have my TPOs manual. I have them set to a certain number because I want them to remain the same even though the volatility is higher or lower, so that I can compare and contrast how the profile normally looks and how it looks today, right? But if you like something that changes, then you like the auto setting, which I think most people use the auto setting. Our future's slow, week of Thanksgiving and Christmas. I would say Thanksgiving is usually a slow week, but I wouldn't say I don't know if we're going to see that this year because look at the volatility right now. But Christmas, not really. Christmas usually has a lot of action. Obviously, not the actual day of Christmas, it's a holiday, but leading up to Christmas, there's usually a lot of action. Funny enough, this time of year is historically one of the most bullish times of the year. We're not really seeing that this year, right? But yeah, late November into like Christmas is typically very, very bullish. The only time of the year that's historically just as bullish or better is typically around April. Why is there so much volatility? It's because the liquidity is so bad. The market makers are really scared right now for whatever reason. I'm sure you could come up with 1,000 reasons why. But the market makers are not providing a ton of liquidity. We can see it on the DOM. The DOM is only trading 10 to 20 ticks. Or sorry, 10 to 20 contracts per tick. Most of the time, less than 10. Hey, Vanquish, have a good weekend. Yeah, right now it's a combination of like lower liquidity but very high volume. Which kind of sounds like an oxymoron. Like how are those two things the same, right? Or how do those two things go together? Because obviously you have to have good liquidity to have good volume. But how do I explain this? The volume, the liquidity is keeping up with the current volume. Therefore, we're able to have really high volume per 30-minute candle. Like, look at it, it's 200,000. 200,000, 223, 213. Like, we have insanely high volume. So the liquidity is keeping up with the current volume, but it's not keeping up in the sense that we could have all of this volume in a much narrow, a much smaller range. A stickier price. If there was simultaneously this much volume that we're currently getting, volume stays the same, but liquidity goes up, we would not be seeing this wide of a range. The price would be much stickier. It'd be sticking to these prices a lot more. It'd be staying on the same prices and building up these nodes a lot more. That's in the world that volume remains the same, but liquidity goes up. Now, in the world where the volume remains the same and the liquidity goes down, it gets wider. You're not as sticky. You're not sticking to these levels. You're not building up these nodes. Kind of like yesterday. Yesterday, we had insanely high volume and very, very low liquidity. And look at what it did. Single prints everywhere, ripping in one direction, not sticking to a certain price. By the way, here's our second attempt on the bear flag in a VWAP. One smooth motion back down to the prior low is what you're looking for. But yeah, so if we're looking at the level 1, which I talk about a lot in my new video, you want that to be around like 40 to 60 right now. That was like the quote-unquote standard that we were at for a while, when price was being very sticky and volatility was normal. It was trading around 40 to 60 contracts per tick. Now we're like 25% of that, if that. We're trading 10 contracts a tick, which is obviously not the actual liquidity, because we are definitely trading more than 10 contracts per tick. That's just how much they're showing, right? Yeah, the carry trade could come to an end. I've been keeping an eye on that. The difference between the Bank of Japan rates and the yields. The difference between their yields and our yields is getting to a point where the carry trade is not really viable. Bulldog on NASDAQ, you would be predicting. It's not showing one. We don't even have the double bottom yet, so it's very, very early. You have many parts of a bulldog, and right now you only have the first leg and then the back. You don't have the second leg, you don't have the push-up, you don't have the pullback. So it'd be a massive prediction at this point. What are you, G? Hey, Titus, have a good weekend. And this is the move that we've been talking about for weeks now. It's finally coming to a... It's finally playing out. We have the daily trail flip. We have the daily pivot being failed 3 times. That retest yesterday was absolutely beautiful. The daily pivot retest. You damn near retested the trail and the pivot at the same time. But yeah, this is starting to look pretty bad. 6,500 is the weekly trail coming up very, very soon. And that is the last like macro support. We have the monthly trail that's really far away. We're not even talking about that anytime soon. That's at 5,800. So right now we have that weekly trail. which we gave up the weekly ADMA, which is very powerful most of the time. The weekly ADMA is a great macro level if you guys are swing traders. As you can see, it respects it many times on this uptrend. So we gave that away, and now we're testing the trail. We give away the trail, it's looking pretty bad. So this is the double bottom. If you're predicting a bulldog, this would be the first half. So now the first half is forming. The second half of the bulldog would be the bull flag, the push up, and then a pullback. This is a bad variation of the bulldog because it's hitting VWAP as resistance. So the bad variation of the bulldog basically turns into a bear flag and a VWAP, which we already just had. We had a bear flag and a VWAP. The first attempt failed, put in a higher low. Second attempt succeeded. It hit your target on the prior low. $30-minute failing to break the prior low. That's the first candle today. I mean, it's only 10 minutes in, so you still have plenty of time. But so far, that's the first candle that has not taken out the prior low. So keep an eye on that. Yeah, I don't even pay attention to the debt stuff anymore. It's one of those things, I'll believe it when I see it. They've been crying about the debt for decades now, probably even longer than that, probably 100 years plus. I'll believe it when I see it. The bulldog on the 5-minute, they're pretty much the same, unless you're talking about this one. This one is way dead. If you're talking about this bulldog that we talked about earlier, it died like back here. You can't pull back this deep. That's not a bulldog anymore. Another wall at 60 here got taken out. You can see it on the tape. A lot of buyers at 60. So the bulldog on NASDAQ is not so much a bearish or a bad variation because you could target VWAP on the push up here. No, the bulldog's not one of the patterns that you can flip upside down. If you flip it upside down, it becomes like a couple of different patterns. It could be a cup and handle, it could be a rollover top, could be a head and shoulders. It becomes a weird pattern when you flip it upside down. The textbook pattern that the bulldog is kind of based off of, it's called like a dragon or something like that. I didn't create the bulldog. I found it on, I forget what it was. I think it was Twitter at the time. It was something. It was like some group, not group, some, I don't know what you would call it, social media site. It was either Reddit or Twitter or whatever at the time. And some guy was talking about how he found this pattern that was like a variation of the dragon. And at the time, it was like very powerful on crypto because crypto kept having these like liquidation moves where it would liquidate downward. Kind of like what happened here. It would like liquidate downward. It would bounce a little bit to trap people. And then it would retest the liquidation move, which created kind of a double bottom. And then it would just continue higher, right? It would put in that little bull flag and it would continue higher. And then from that pattern, I just kind of built my own way of trading it with like the Fibonacci levels and if it's under VWAP or above VWAP, all that stuff. I built all the different variations and just the tools and how to figure out if it's a good trade or a bad trade. It basically just came out, like I said, as like a retest of a liquidation or a retest of a wick, like a sell-off. Yeah, I don't talk about it too much anymore, like right now, because it's not a very strong pattern right now. The cumulative delta divergence is not what it used to be like a year or 2 years ago. Like a year or two ago, you could take those divergences as a scalp trade with a very high strike rate. And they would play out, like I said, at a very high rate. So they were very successful patterns. But in the last like year or two, the delta has been heavily skewed. The cumulative delta is being heavily skewed by block trades, by walls, absorption, whatever, you name it. So it just doesn't have the same power that it used to, which is why I don't talk about it as much, right? I have moved more so into the way of looking at delta on a tick by tick or point by point basis, more as a footprint, not as a cumulative moving average. But yeah, I believe I talk about it in my order flow playlist in my different delta videos, but I don't think I have a video of just talking about the cumulative delta. It's not that important. It's worse on NASDAQ. Most days I don't even have it pulled up anymore. Yeah, it's been very misleading recently, for sure. It used to be one of the like first things I looked for when I was trying to confirm my trades, like, is this a good trade or not? Now it's probably one of the last things I look at. I care more about if it's going against price, like it's diverging from price for a very long time, kind of like in a vertical distribution or something like that. I care about the surges. Is it like surging up or down very rapidly? But I don't care about the small movements anymore, like the very small divergences. They still work every now and then. Like I called one out earlier today. I said that this was a divergence right here, and it did play out. Look what it did. It hit VWAP. So they do play. They're just not so powerful that you can use them in every trade. Yeah, you would hope. You would hope it comes back in the future. Okay, so right now you're seeing what I talked about earlier with the Bulldog running into VWAP, selling VWAP, which is becoming like a bear flag in a VWAP. But they're still trying to play it out as a Bulldog. That's what's generating that chop. So you have that pullback being bought, but you have VWAP being sold. That's why this pattern is hard to trade right here, because you have conflicting information. Yeah, you can do that. There's drawing tools. I think even on Addis, there's like drawing tools. You can pull the delta from just a specified area instead of looking at it as like a whole. You can just pull a profile and build it that way. Yeah, I appreciate that, Jay. It's like I talked about. By the way, we're back into rotation. So keep an eye on the value high here. Value high at 83. The full session value high is 88, a little bit higher. Every attempt to break out of this balance has failed, which is very typical for a micro pullback. I forgot what I was saying. Oh, yeah. It's like I was talking about the other day about how trading is very individual, right? You can all use the same patterns, the same methods, but it's really up to you whether that works or not. And I see it a lot in my tutoring, right? Like some people, it's really clicking and like they're figuring it all out and they're doing really good. And some people it's still like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I gotta fix these problems, right? A couple of issues here and there. It's all a psychological game, right? You got to figure out what's working, what's not working. We all see the market differently. Another wall coming up at 80 just got taken out, I believe. Actually, not taken out just yet. No ticks above 80. There it is. Trading at 80 and a half. Have a good day, man. Okay, this is about where it should fail if it wants to stay inside balance here. They have failed to find value above 90 and 600 pretty much the entire day. This all stems from what we talked about at 11:10. It was pretty early in the candle, but it did put in a higher low. It was the only 30-minute candle to not break the prior low, and that was 20 minutes ago, and you can see the reaction. And now it's the first 30-minute candle to break and hold above the prior high as well. The one time frame effect has come to an end on the sell side. Not seeing a ton of bearish delta where it should be coming in. Still not seeing that bearish delta you should be seeing up here if it wants to go back into rotation. Well, you're seeing a little bit of bearish delta, but it's being absorbed. You're not seeing it in the way that you want to. You need to see more bearish delta holding around 85 or lower. But all right, guys, we are going to call it there. Be on the lookout later today for that last video in our series. It should be coming out today. I'll let you guys know in Discord. But it should be coming out probably a little bit after the close. So watch out for that. We'll do the Q&A for that video most likely on Monday. as well. I'm going to try to bring some more examples, and we'll also do some... I was thinking on Monday, we might, instead of doing the Q&A at the end of the day, we might do it around like lunchtime or somewhere around there. Around like 12 o'clock, maybe 1 o'clock Eastern. So we have some live data coming in. Because it is an order flow video, right? So we want to see probably some live examples. So I'll talk to you guys on Monday on the morning stream, and I'll let you know when that Q&A is. But we'll probably do it like right after the morning stream. We'll probably just do around like 12 or 1 or something like that. But alright guys, that's all I got. Hit that like button, be sure to subscribe. If you guys want to support the channel, you can use code BREW on Apex. I believe it's still 80% off until Monday. Code Black Friday 2025, all one word, no space, on Discord or on the website for anything. If you want to become an annual Discord member, the code is annual 2025, all one word. That's 50% off on that one. I also have a promo code on Addis on the Poland chat. If you take a look at that, I believe it's like 5 or 10% off. And yeah, that's all I got. I'll be streaming the rest of the day in Discord. If you guys are in Discord, I'll see you there. If not, enjoy your weekend. I'll see you guys back on Monday. Once again, be on the lookout for that video. Should be coming out later today around the market close. Peace, everybody.